So we're going to do some exercises to see how the theory that we just learned, how we use it to solve problems. So these are the work examples that are in your JAC Plus. So I'm just going to explain them here, but you also have the explanation that is in your textbook. Okay, so the first type of exercise that you're going to find is about finding the hypotenuse. So it says, for the triangle at right, calculate the length of the hypotenuse x correct to 1 decimal place. Okay, so the first thing that we need to notice is that it's asking us to find it to 1 decimal place. So let's see what are the steps that we need to solve this type of exercises. So first, we need to copy the diagram and label it. So we have the diagram here, and when you're doing your exercises, your practice exercises, you will have them in the diagram in the computer. You always have to copy the diagram and label it. Then you have to write the Pythagoras Theorem, then you have to substitute the values into the rule, then you need to simplify it, and then you have to run your answer to how many decimal places are required. Okay, so let's get into it. So first I'm going to draw the diagram. I didn't want to do it here because it's going to be messy. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm drawing my diagram. That's my right angle triangle. I'm going to put the symbol here to show that this is my right angle triangle, and then I know that this side, it says that is a 7, and over here is an 11, and this side here, the hypotenuse, which is the opposite to the right angle triangle, and the longest side is going to be x. Okay, then it says write the Pythagoras theorem. So the Pythagoras theorem is c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. Fantastic. Then we have to substitute the values. So in this case, my hypotenuse is using the pronumeral x. So I'll write it in terms of x. X squared is equal to. Now, I haven't, when I drew my diagram, I can also, and it's a good idea to label it. And it says here, copy the diagram and label it. So to do that, I'm going to say, okay, this side is going to be A. So A is equal to 7, and B is equal to 11, and C is equal to X. Okay. So A is 7, so we write here 7 squared plus 11 squared. Okay, you need to use your CAS to do this, so I'm using it here. I'm going into scratch pad, calculate. Okay, so I'm writing 7 squared, enter, which is equal to, and we should know this, that x squared is equal to 49 plus 121. And then x squared is equal to 49 plus 121 is equal to 170. And then we do a square root on both sides. So then you get that x is equal to the square root of 170. Perfect. Remember that if in your CAS you write a square root of 170 and you press enter, it's going to give you the exact answer that in this case, because it cannot simplify it any further, is going to be a square root of 170. So to get an approximation, we need to press Control, the blue key, and enter. So I'm going to do that. Control enter, and I get that the approximation is 13.0384048 and I'm sure it will continue. So because I need to write it to, I'm going to write here x is equal to 13 and all these decimal places. I'm writing the 3 dots to symbolize that it keeps on going, but I was asked to give my answer to 1 decimal place, so I need to round it to 1 decimal place. Because the next place value is 3, so I don't have to round it up. I leave it like that. But my question is asking me to leave it to 1 decimal place, so I have to give my answer with 1 decimal place. So I have to write x is equal to 13.0. Perfect. So that's our first type of question. The second type of questions is when it's asking us to find the length of the shorter side. So in this case, we don't have to find the hypotenuse. So let's read the question. It says, calculate the length correct to 1 decimal place of the unmarked side of the triangle at the right. So if we look at the steps, again, are exactly the same steps that we had before. So the first thing that I'm going to do is copy the diagram and label it. So I'll copy my diagram. I told you girls that I can't draw. Bear with me. Okay, there we go. And I know that here, the one that is adjacent to this right angle next to it is 8 centimeters. So this one is 8 centimeters. And the long side opposite to that right angle is 14 centimeters, which means that this one is the hypotenuse. So this one is 14 centimeters. Okay, perfect. And we're going to label it. So this one is going to be A. This one is going to be B. And the hypotenuse is always C. Perfect. And then it says, write the Pythagoras theorem. So I'm not going to write it as c squared equals a squared plus b squared, because in this case I'm going to find a. So I'm going to use one of the other modifications that we use. So I'm going to use the one that is a squared equals to c squared take away b squared. Now I'm going to substitute. So a squared remains the same. C squared is going to be 14 squared. Take away 8 squared. So a squared is equal to 196. Take away 64. And if we do 196 take away 64 is 132. So a squared is equal to 132. And we do a square root on both sides. So that will give us that a is equal to square root of 132, which is 11.48912, and so on. But it's asking me to give it my answer to 1 decimal place, so I'm going to run. I will write it down here so I can write down how I'm rounding it. So I write 11.48912, and I'm putting the 3 dots to indicate that it keeps going. And my answer, so to 1 decimal place, the place value next to it is 5 or more, which means that I have to round up. So a equals 11.5. And because in the question it was given me in centimeters, I have to write my answer in centimeters. Okay, let's go to the next one.